What is going on, you guys? In this video, I'm going to answer some questions that have been asked for me for years in my comment section, and I've avoided them like the plague for one reason or another. So in this video, I'm going to answer majority of these questions that keep coming up. So one of the questions that I get asked somewhat frequent is what got me into TTMing. I was a teenager, probably 13, 14, and I had a $10 allowance every week. And for years, I would just go to Walmart on the weekends and buy packs and buy packs. And then one year for Christmas, my mom and dad got me a subscription to Tough Stuff magazine. If you remember, back in the day, Tough Stuff magazine was like a competitor with Beckett. They kind of went together, and then out of nowhere, freaking Tough Stuff went out of biz. But one thing that Tough Stuff had every month was they had a TTM section. It was normally just a page, and there would be an article about something in the TTM world. And when I say TTM, I mean through the mail autographs is what I'm talking about. It'd be an article about TTMs, and then in the corner there would be a block of about 5 to 10 active addresses, and this would be like personal addresses, like athletes' home addresses that sign TTM. So I started sending to some of these, and it didn't take me very long to notice that I was getting autographs back in the mail for essentially 80 cents. I don't remember off the top of my head how much a stamp was back then, so we'll just say 40 cents. So 40 cents there and 40 cents back, I got an autograph for 80 cents. You know, who was signing back then? Tony Gwynn signed a couple times a year. Greg Maddux, I was able to get him 4 or 5 years in a row at spring training only. Mariano Rivera, he was signing autographs for quite a while via TTM. And so I was able to get all these guys for 80 cents, which is just insane. Almost, not all of them, almost every Hall of Famer has gone through a stint since their end of their career where they sign TTM. And so if you can get in that window, I mean, you can get something really nice for relatively cheap. So that's what got me into it. What's kind of kept me into it was I'm married, and my wife and I have 4 kids. So, you know, we don't have money growing off the money tree in the backyard. So money can be scarce sometimes. And I find it cheaper to be able to send out 10, 15, 20 TTMs, and for that same price I might be able to get, you know, 1 or 2 nice certified cards. Because if I get something in my collection, I want it to be nice, you know what I mean? You could go out and buy, you know, a $20 George Springer autograph if you want, but if you want a nice George Springer autograph, you know, you're going to have to do that 80 maybe to $100. I have no idea why I just came up with George Springer, but so for that, you know, 80 bucks, 80 to $100, you could send out a ton of TTMs. And so that kind of is what keeps me in the game. So that's what got me into it. Another one I get a lot is, how do I get my ideas of who to send to and all that? So one thing for me, what keeps it fresh when you're constantly sending out TTMs is projects. So if you remember a couple years ago, I did what did I do? I've done a Houston, we have a problem TTM project, which was sports related, not NASA. And that was sending to athletes that played in Houston. You know, talking Rockets, Oilers, Texans, Astros, Gamblers, the Houston Gamblers from back in the day. I was sending to all those. I had a whistle tip project where I was sending to coaches and assistant coaches in the NFL asking for, you know, one of their whistles. And so I have a ton of those, which was that was a really fun project. What else? I had another one. I mean, all of these I came up with on my own. I'm just thinking of something new and fresh to try. Another fun one I did was, I called it In the Booth, the In the Booth project, and that's where I was sending to Ford Frick winners, which is the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame announces a Ford Frick winner. It's kind of an inductee to the Hall of Fame every year. And there's a ton of these dudes are alive, you know, maybe 20 to 25 of them. And they don't get a ton of fan mail, so a lot of them sign their fan mail. And so I was buying official Major League Baseballs and sending it to these guys. And I'm wanting to say I got like 15 or 16 back. That was another really fun project. So it's just different things all the time. I did a project that I'd never announced on my channel of trying to get as many NFL quarterbacks, current and past, on 4x6 and 5x7 photos, because I wanted to build a collage, a huge collage of signed photos of quarterbacks. I got a bunch of those back, but I never built the collage. Kind of started the project but didn't finish it. Another great one, you know, if you don't maybe have the mind to just think of something, what do you like? You know, for me, I'm from Houston, so I like the Astros. So just send every stinking Astro you can think of. You know, go on the internet and pull up the 1986 Houston Astros roster, 87 roster, 88, 89, so on. And send to them dudes. And just send. That way everything you get back is going to be something PC. It may not be a guy that you know about, but when it comes in, you can learn about him. So I think that's something cool to do. Another thing is get in these forums, get in Facebook groups, and see what people are getting in. Obviously, if they're getting an autograph in, they got it in somehow, and then they got it in because they sent it to somebody. So try that. One thing I would say about that is avoid the addy ADDY comments, or what's the address, who'd you send to, all of those questions. I know at the end of the day that's the question you want to ask, but that's for people, I'd say like myself, that get in a ton of maybe tougher or higher end TTMs. That's all you see, man. And it's kind of rude. And for me, I think it's kind of disrespectful. Like, you don't even say it's nice or anything like that. You're just Addy ? Well, I don't think I've ever responded to that. For a while there, I was kind of being sarcastic. And when they said Addy, I wrote back like, yes, I did send to an address. Just to kind of be a horse's ass. So that is that. Do I ever get burnt out? Is another question. Oh, yes. Yes. So it used to not be that often. It used to be about once every 3 years, 4 years. Now that I'm older, I'm 37, and I've been doing this since I was a teenager, I get burnout probably 2 or 3 times a year. And what kind of helps me get out of those burnout periods is projects, coming up with different projects, different ideas, getting in the forums, seeing who's coming in, so on and so forth. So that is that. Another question, this is probably the number one question I get asked, and I've never answered it. So here we go. Where do I get my addresses? So I'll tell you where I get my addresses, and I'll tell you where you can get other addresses that I don't use. I don't need to use them. You don't need to go to 15 different places, in my opinion. So what I do is I go to, and all of these websites will be down below. Sportsaddresslist.com. So the website itself is free, and you're not going to get a single address for free. So what you do is there's all kinds of different categories. Baseball, football, basketball, music, NASCAR, wrestling. It goes on and on. And each list is sold individually. So the huge sports are more expensive. Like baseball, I think is 40 or 45. Football, I think is 40. Basketball is 35 or 40. I think racing or NASCAR is like $15, I think. So this gentleman's going to mail you an actual book. Just a bunch of papers with like kind of a spiral going through it. I don't think it's like a hardback book or anything like that. But you're going to open up the page, and by the time you get to the 5th page, it's just stacked with addresses. Ridiculous. And they're all in alphabetical order. And he comes out with these new lists every single year. You don't have to buy them every single year, but he might have thrown in some stuff. Another thing about the sports addresslist.com is he sends you, I think it's quarterly or biannually, updates to your email of new addresses that have changed or addresses that have been added. So that's another one cool about that. In the past, I've gotten some really, really big names from there, and I've struck out a whole lot from there as well. So that's that. Another one I use is StarTiger.com. I believe that is $4.99 a month, so $5 a month. I put in my credit card and it just rolls. It just charges me every month. So between the sports list and StarTiger, that's all I use. I use those two and Facebook. And I say Facebook, and that goes back to how you ask for an address. Kind of engage with someone before you go straight for the gusto. Congratulations, that's an awesome return. Great selection of card, by the way. He was my favorite back in, whatever, because of X, Y, and Z. If you don't mind, could you please get me started on the right foot and tell me, maybe where you got that address or something along those lines. That's just off the top of my head. Another thing about StarTiger is it's not specifically sports at all. Matter of fact, I would say sports kind of plays a second fiddle on that website. It's kind of mainly celebrities, astronauts, all that, but there's a ton of sports on there, and that's why I like it. I also like how you can catalog your TTMs there. You can say what date you send it off, and then when it comes in, if you put in the name and you click, it'll tell you how many days it was out and all that. So really cool. I like that feature, which a couple of these other websites have it. Fan Mail Biz, that is, I believe it's a free website, I believe. I've used it once or twice, not very often. I used it a ton back in the day when I didn't want to pay for anything. But a lot of it is generic address. So for Trevor Story, it'll give you the Colorado Rockies address. For James Harden, it will give you the Houston Rockets address. But occasionally you'll find some personal addresses on there. Another one is sportscollectors.net, which is my understanding that it's like $20 a year or something like that. So a lot of people like to use that one. And sportscardforum.com is another one where you could find addresses. So that is that. So I hope that answers a ton of the questions. I was just thinking, I was sitting here, I'm in a hotel right now. I was looking through some of my old videos, reading comments, and I'm like, man, I kind of feel like a horse's ass, because people have been asking me these questions literally for years, and I've never answered them. But now that I'm getting older, I don't mind sharing some tips and tricks here and there. When I was younger, I was very, very stingy with the information. So that is that. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, drop a comment. So until next time, adios, be safe, bye-bye. Doodles.